know, usually when you think about playing against the Greenskins, you're going to be expecting a massive swarm, right? You got goblins, you got orcs, you got orc airboys, tons of cheap, cost-effective cavalry running everywhere. But every now and then a madman, aka Dark Arrow 901, comes in with the dreaded rogue idol giant combo. We're going to see today if this can catch Nurgle off guard. So it's going to be the Rogue Idol, a Giant, a couple of nasty Skulkers, which aren't terrible against some of the Chaos Warrior type units, will be pretty god-awful against Toads and Marauders, which is a lot of what Nurgle has, but man oh man, Nurgle does have some problems dealing with big monsters, especially if they don't bring an Exalted Great Unclean one. So like I said in the intro, Dark Arrow here, going to be coming in Debiggen as well as a Giant. And yeah, this could actually be a substantial problem, right? You park Debiggen on one objective and the Giant on the other, and you just kind of bounce back and forth with your troops, and I'm really eager to see how this goes. Now, as far as the Night Goblin Shaman, he has a couple buff spells. They're okay. Honestly, direct damage is usually a little bit more cost effective, but, you know, a little sneaky stab and a little itchy nuisance here and there. Not bad spells. So it's going to be nasty Skulkers hiding in the shadows, waiting to ambush some of the Nurgle troops. And, oh my god, is it a Night Goblin Warboss? It is. I think it's going to be the dreaded Night Goblin Warboss. Haven't seen this guy in forever. Oh my god, he's so tiny. But what he has, fermented fungi, so we could Rampage Festus, for example, and lure him into a Giant. We do have Spider the Bad Moon, Tormentor Sword, lots of cool stuff. Now, for the forces of the Plague God, it is going to be Marauders of Nurgle, backed up by Toads, Festus the Leech Lord, and double Exalted Hero. Now, these guys could do some work against the big monsters. Exalted Heroes have really high melee attack and just great general combat stats. One of my favorite units on the Nurgle roster in general. I think really, really big difference makers. And of course, Festus is good at clearing out chaff. Pretty god-awful against monsters, but you just put him on healing mode and gives your whole army a little bit of sustain. So yeah, there's nasty Skulkers like waiting in ambush everywhere. We got Morgub's Mangy Marauders moving out, which are pretty good. Armor piercing, skirmish cav, can poke into warriors, poke into toads, do decent adequate damage against some of the chaff. Obviously you don't want to be shooting shielded marauders, but the toads are always a decent target. So a little bit of fast forwarding here. Debiggen's going to be throwing some boulders into the Marauders as they do advance. Meanwhile, we have a little bit of skirmishing going down over here. And on the other side, the Nurglite forces are going to be advancing and taking a very, very firm hold here on Objective 3. But, you know, there's several objectives they have to play, that is for sure. So you see a big Haggard boulder going down into the Marauder Horse and a Nurgle. So they're going to be getting popped by a Debiggen, who's gotten a fair amount of value so far. And nasty Skulkers, oh my god, are we going to see a Tormentor Sword coming in from the Night Goblin? That'd be so funny if you managed to catch these horsemen. So yeah, just avoiding the Nurgle blob is what you want to be doing. So Giant's going to be securing this objective here in the alley. Look at this, the Warhound's trying to get through, and the Warlord's boys and the Squig's going to be moving in. Now this is a little bit dicey. Toads aren't like a high DPS unit, so the Squigs might do okay initially, but looks like it's just going to be a big swarm by the Wa, but this is not going to be an easy objective to wrestle. Nurgle does have a lot of units, a lot of poison, a lot of staying power here. Middle objective, though, going to be going to the Giant. Looks like the Rogue Idol is being used as a range tool, and somehow, oh, the nasty Skulkers did head off the Marauder Horsemen. Very, very clean play right there. And they got the smoke bomb off, so they're going to be getting their little prison shanks and showing these horsemen who's boss. So horsemen are running for the hills. GG there. Now, I think the Rogue Idol might be a little bit better served on the actual objective. I think he would generate more value just kind of slapping, because then over there he could also be, you know, giving you some capture weight, giving you some presence here. Granted, the boulder shots into these bunched up Nurgle forces, I mean, not bad. It does a little bit of work. And how are we looking here? We see Warlord's boys trading very cost-effectively, Spider Riders and Night Goblin Squig Hoppers. You think Nurgle units would be immune to poison, but that would only be something that Slaanesh would get, like just some blanket map-wide buff, right? Like, you know, ITP. Nurgle doesn't get anything cool like that. But honestly, like, why not just do that? Make Nurgle immune to poison. That wouldn't be that OP. I don't think it'd be a really cool flavor thing for them. Nonetheless, nasty Skulkers here, going to be pulling back. They do use the smoke bomb on the Marauder, so a little cheeky micro there to mitigate some of the damage the Skulkers were going to be taking. As the Furies of Kark do go back here and try to dive at the Mangy Marauders. Very, very nice play there by Kark. Going to be shutting down a pretty cost-effective range units, but the Gobos is ready, man, and they're swarming all over the place. Current value for Dark Arrow is going to be 2,000. Kark down at 1,400, but he has healing, so it can be mitigated a little bit. Now, some of the nasty Skulkers were discovered here in the forest. The Toads and Marauders going to be hunting them down, but this Greenskin player is he's a very sneaky lad. Moving all these forces around the map as we do have the dreaded Giant. Continuing to take these Marauders of Nurgle to Pound Town, and yeah, this is a little bit dangerous, man. If Festus comes in here and just gets smashed by this Giant, that Night Goblin Warboss comes back in, rampages them, I mean, things could go south really, really quick. So we get double Skulkers coming in. Skulkers will be pretty good against Exalted Heroes. Healing Elixirs are active, but it looks like they are going to be turning their sights on the Giant. But Festus here is kind of getting pounded a little bit. He's taking some big damage. He's down to 4,500, so certainly not something that Nurgle wants, as more and more nasty Skulkers do move in to give the Giant a little bit of buffering. And it looks like the Wa is down in the valley, ladies and gentlemen, as the Exalted Heroes are now going to be getting a bunch of very cost-effective little daggers to the back here, and we'll see how they're going to hold out with the Festus support. On this side, the Wa completely steamrolls the forces of Nurgle. Absolute steamroll. We got the Squigs, we got the Goblins, and wait a second, is he playing pure Goblin? I don't know if he is. He might. I don't think I've seen like a single orc unit yet. I think everything is like a goblin or a monster, which I love. And like he's playing against a really strong player. Kark is one of the, the top players. I think he's top 16 on leaderboard. I'm not sure. He's definitely won some tournaments before. So yeah, pretty wild, man. Keep it in flavor. The Night Goblin War Boss with 293 value doing some work. And the Giant, man, taking these Exalted Heroes to Pound Town for sure, stretching those bounds. As you can see, Throwing Axe is going to be coming in from Kark. One of Nurgle's like only tools to actually deal with big monsters. The Giant could be in a little bit of danger, but overall, it's gotten 1,200 value. It's almost paid for itself. That Giant really is doing some nice work. Now, this objective could be in a little bit of danger as well. Greenskin Skirmishing Corps pushing back those units. And now in the middle, we do see the Biggin moving in. And yes, that Giant continues to get some big damage as we get the Moon Howlers. The Howlers of the Moon going to be surging forward, trying to tie up Festus the Leech Lord and company, just throwing haggard bodies on the objective to keep the capture weight, while the big monsters continue to just take these Nurgle forces to Pound Town, man. I mean, this Giant is just clubbing these Exalted Heroes back and forth. Festus isn't terribly quick. I think he's a little bit slower, about the same speed as these giant monsters, so he's going to have trouble getting away. The Moon Howlers here, they're causing fear, although all these Nurgle units have been cause fear themselves, or many of them do. Festus doesn't cause fear. I mean, that thing, anything Nurgle should cause fear, really. I mean, he's one of the most terrifying things in Warhammer Fantasy, really, if you think about it. AP Clooney's doing great work. Holden being unbreakable. Getting through some of the chaff units as Nasty Skulkers continue to pressure. Looks like it is a 2-cap for the Greenskins. Nurgle does have the outside objective, which has a pretty substantial force here. So it looks like Kark maybe kept these guys over here too long. Going to need to move them over to the middle. But like if Nurgle loses this fight here and it goes south for them, and let's say Festus gets karate chopped, and it looks like he did get slapped with the Fermented Fungi and the Tormentor Sword, so he's currently locked in place, but the Gobbo Lord could also be in danger with the Exalted Hero nearby, but that Giant still going, man. 1,600 value. Terror Routes could be in effect as we do see the Marauders of Nurgle on the run. Moonhowlers managing to chase them down, and the fact that Moonhowlers cause fear is pertinent here. These units are not immune to fear, right? So they can be chased. Units that cause fear are immune to fear. Units that cause terror immune to Terror Routes. If you guys are a little bit newer to the game, that is how that works. So Festus the Leech Lord, man, getting slapped up by the Biggin, and we also see the little Gobbo here. Yeah, the Night Goblin boss, man, it's so cool to see him. He was not super common in Warhammer 2, but he did make appearances because of the fact that he had Fermented Fungi, as well as, I kind of like it though. He probably only costs like 800 gold, and he has 2 really powerful abilities with like a snare. I feel like the dreaded Dark Arrow 901 here is maybe opening our eyes to some cool Greenskin tactics. Granted, Nurgle is one of the weaker factions in the game, and he really capitalized on Nurgle's weaknesses, which are dealing with big, large targets. Nurgle really is good at infantry trading, like with Mortis Engines and Swarms and things like that. If you try and trade infantry with Nurgle, it gives them a pretty good fighting chance, but obviously big monsters can be scary. Because Nurgle does have some answers, like the Beast of Nurgle and things like that, but a lot of Nurgle players just don't pack them. They simply go for the width and try and, swarm with infantry and all that kind of stuff. So this objective, though, very firmly in the hands of Nurgle, but, this leaderless Nurgle rabble is going to do pretty terrible against the Rogue Idol. The Rogue Idol is going to be able to smash it. Over on the far side, we do see the Nasty Skulkers and more groups, Magi Marauders and company, doing a pretty good job claiming this objective for Gork and or Mork. And here, Squig Hoppers still just being annoying. Not terribly good against Toads, but they are good against Marauders. So the objective does flip, and we see who the true Chad here is on the battlefield. It is the Night Goblin War Boss. So he does take down Festus. The Leech Lord has fallen, doing Carl Franz a pretty substantial favor. Anybody who's played an Empire campaign in the past couple months knows the misery of playing against Festus, as he is up north in the Midland, just ruining your dreams and ambitions. Now down here, Objective 1 is still in the hands of Nurgle. Greenskins are kind of trying to get it. It looks like they have a little bit of poke coming in there, just kind of sending waves and waves of units currently. They do have a 10.7 to an 8,000 value lead. However, this is kind of how Nurgle works, right? Like the army value on the battlefield is the exact same despite the value lead, because you have to take into account the healing. That's why this spectator mod by Gleason, again, shout out to you, man, is so awesome. So while going down here, and yeah, that's going to be pretty good. Tormentor Sword, Fermented Fungi, lowering the melee defense of these units. Giants up to 2,000 value. Plague Toads of Nurgle are so cool. I wish they were a little bit better. I feel like, I don't know, maybe they're decent for 600 gold. Maybe I'm not using them correctly, but Nurgle just seems like a really tough cookie to crack for sure. And the Rogue Idol himself, up to about 1,600 value. These guys are certainly clapping the forces of Nurgle. As in the middle, Squig Hoppers intercepting the reinforcements. More and more Toads coming in. Marauder Horseman and Cart going to be maneuvering over to the middle. And the Greenskins might be losing the side objective. It's hard to say. We do have Spider Riders battling against Marauders and Toads. This will be a losing fight for the Greenskins for sure. So maybe there's an opportunity for Kark to get back in this game. Granted, he's losing this fight in the middle pretty decisively. And you can see the gold value on the battlefield did start to flip after the big kind of swarm into these units. This is pretty big. Kark really needs to get these Marauder Horsemen and get these SEMs off the battlefield. Get the Giant down. The Rogue Idol, it might be a little bit too late in the game to try and finish that thing off. I mean, it has 13,000. I think this thing has the most HP in the entire game. Dreadsaurians have like 15,400. And Biggin, I think, has even more. Yeah, that Chungus is no joke, dude. Giants have 9.8. So yeah, Rogue Idol. Imagine if you could heal that thing. If the Greenskins had some way of like healing it, that'd be so cool. But you know, it's not their jam. They're more about fighting. They don't care about, you know, preservation of their own well-being, I suppose. 8-peak Looney's going to be surging out. This will flip this fight. So the 8-peak Looney's going to be able to crump through these forest goblins, or excuse me, with these forest goblins, and smite the plague toads as well as the marauders. And they should be able to maintain this objective with proper control. It looks like the Greenskin player are going to be detaching the spider riders and pulling around to ambush those toads, which is good. And oh yeah, dude. Man, Dark Arrow 901, shout out to you, man. You're bringing some really cool units and you're making them work against a great player, which I love. So we got the Crimson Killers moving in. One of the coolest great weapon units in the game, and with Festus being gone, the Mortis engine, oh, speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Kark has equalized the value a little bit. Currently, the score is 765 to 671, and Nurgle's healing, man, is kind of keeping him in the game. This is getting a little bit dicey. We do also see the Squig Lord getting punched a little bit. Now, if the Night Goblin Squig boss does get killed, that's going to be a huge punishment. I mean, that's going to be really, really painful. It looks like the Giant finally was taken down. Looking at banked resources, both players are just kind of sending whatever they can out to the battlefield, as we do see the 8-peak Loonies progressively win this fight. It's taking some time, but they should be able to get there. But if Kark manages to flip this objective, he could definitely get back in this game. I mean, now that Festus is back on the battlefield, the terror of old is back. Squig Hoppers here, chewing on Forsaken, something that they hard counter super hard. Granted, Forsaken can give the damage back with the 25 armor they have, but if they get the charge, Squig Hoppers are an excellent anti-infantry tool. Honestly, I think Squigs and Squig units, all of the variants, are just like some of the best anti-infantry units in the game. For the cost, their speed, their mobility, the utility, the poison, I mean, they do great work. These Marauders of Nurgle are going to get wrecked, so like they're going to get smashed. They have really good melee defense for a Marauder unit, but yeah, there they go. Oh, beautiful. Gotta love Squigs, man. I've always thought it'd be pretty fun to start a little Goblin army in tabletop. When the Old World comes out, perhaps the wife and I will make a Goblin army. I think that'd be really, really cool. So Squig Hopper is going to clear the objective. Could be flipped for the Greenskins. Nurgle isn't really good at reacting to these type of things. We see some Horsemen coming out, but the Horsemen might lose to these 3 units, although Nurgle does have some Hounds. They do have some Spawn here, and we do also see Nasty Skulkers. So I would wager that objective is probably going to be flipping as we look back to the middle. This Rogue Idol is just straight up going Super Saiyan, and Nurgle is actually kind of getting it down, but I think Crimson Killers are going to be too much here. It's going to take so much effort for Nurgle to remove them. And look at this, the War Boss coming back in with the Steel Chair, baby. Going to be attacking that Exalted Hero. And what abilities does he have off cooldown? Does he have any rampages? Does he have any snares? It does not look like it, but that Rogue Idol and the Crimson Killers, Festus could kill them though. If he gets his Mortis engine going, the Harbinger of Pestilence starts to pop that on them. Maybe that could flip things. Now this objective held by the Greenskins, but looks like it could go the other direction. Nurgle slowly kind of getting the cap weight here. We see 993 to 786 currently as it stands. It looks like Nurgle owns 1 objective, Greenskins hold 2. Just barely hold 2 though. This one looks like it potentially be flipping for Kark here. And Little War Boss just cycle charging. Crimson Killers should be able to crush this Exalted Hero. I mean, they hit really hard. They're a generalist unit, so they're good against big armor and small armor. In my experience, they also have, seem to have good splash attacks. Not that it's pertinent here, but that Exalted Hero is just getting crumped, like absolutely circle beaten and crumped. And Festus, once again, having flashbacks to earlier in the battle where he got absolutely smashed by the big Greenskin monsters. The Rogue Idol in a little bit of a dangerous position, and now it is, yeah, Rogue Idols didn't used to be unbreakable. That was a really nice change in Warhammer 3. They actually used to like crumble down, or like they could break. I can't remember if it was like a crumbling or a routing mechanic, but I really like that. Creative Assembly did make them kind of unbreakable. It was really silly. It made them pretty mediocre, but now they're quite a bit better. So, side objective being held onto by the Greenskins. Pretty big stuff, honestly. This objective flipping could be a big turning of the tide. We see Forsaken and Marauders coming in, but Nurgle can't afford to be behind for too long, simply because it takes them so long to get back to the objectives. I mean, their base units here have 30 speed. Their Forsaken at 41, which is like 10 speed slower, I think, or 5 speed slower than standard Forsaken. It depends on which roster we're talking about. I think the Slaneshi ones are a little bit quicker as well, but nonetheless, Plague Toads not able to get it quite done. The AP Loonies, of course, doing really good. 800 value on these guys. Festus Leech Lord on his way in. And it looks like the Crimson Killers are going to be able to hold this middle objective, although the Night Goblin War Boss in a little bit of danger. The side objective is held by the Greenskins, but could be getting flipped here, as we do see the last bastions of the Greenskin units here getting smashed a little bit. So Nasty Skulkers and Moonhowlers in a little bit of a leadership situation. If we do see the Chaos Warhounds come around the back and rear charge them, that could certainly just break those guys. But the Goblins are persistent, man. Sending in more and more troops. And yeah, the objective is going to be going back to Dark Arrow here. As you can see, he maintains the capture weight with the little Nasty Skulkers, which is kind of cheeky. You can hide them on the edge of the objective, and your opponent will be like, why am I not getting it? Sometimes you could buy a little bit of time with tactics like that. Middle objective to the Greenskins. And, you know, even though Nurgle and Kark are scrapping well, he's staying in the game. He actually has a better army than the Greenskins in the battlefield. His healing and attrition, what Nurgle is known for, has been slowly getting him back in the game. But currently, as it stands, he's triple capped, and you can see it's 13-20 points. So I simply don't see any way that Nurgle is going to be able to do it fast enough. And I really do think we could see a Greenskin Helm's Deep. You know, we could see the Crimson Killers just being absolute badasses here on the middle objective, backed up by their goblins. And it's not a pure goblin build. It's mostly goblins. I think Crimson Killers are like the only non-goblin unit we've seen. I mean, Orc Boar Boys are pretty good against Nurgle because they can kill the warriors and bring some armor piercing if you need it against Nurgles like armor, which they do have some. This objective, for sure, going to be flipping, but I don't think Kark's going to have enough time. There's going to be goblins, but nasty skulkers get absolutely crumped by toads. I mean, the plague toads are designed to kill lightly armored infantry units like this. So that one's going to be flipping. Will Nurgle have enough time for the middle objective? Do a little bit of fast forwarding, see if they can get there in time. I seriously doubt it. This objective flips, and now we see the last desperate play coming in from Nurgle. Going to be moving over to the middle objective. But ladies and gentlemen, the Greenskin Monster Mash has pulled out the W. I love that game. That was super fun. Thank you, Dark Arrow, for sending that one in. And really, really cool stuff. We got to see the Biggin and the Giant doing well. Little Goblin Warboss even did okay, man. It was cool. Really, really fun stuff. Kark's build was nice, too. I think if he had had more Marauder Horsemen, he could have gotten the W. Like, look how much value they got. 22-18, because they were just beating on the Giant and Rogue Idol, right? So a couple more Marauder Horsemen, and I think he could have won the game. Like, with Nurgle, you really got to really prepare for that anti-large. GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Great match by both players. And we'll see you guys on the other side.